Louisiana. And as we said, the basketball team wins on Saturday, and then the ladies follow it up with a win on Sunday. Haley Van Lith with her best day as a Tiger. And we saw her playing off the ball a little more yesterday, and you can see she's a totally different player. She really is. I mean, she is a totally different player when she does not have the pressure of running the offense. She's just, it's in comparison to what, how we can relate to it. If you're at your job, you're at your day job, whatever you do, and they ask you to do something that's just different. I mean, you're still in the same realm. I mean, it's not like you're not playing basketball, but it's just a different part of the game when you're playing off the ball rather than primarily handling the ball. And you can tell when she brings the ball up in certain situations, she's just tight. She's uncomfortable. I mean, she would rather catch the ball and play than distribute the pass and get it back, right? And yesterday you could see her playing with the ball, without the ball, and then playing after a catch and turning into a scorer. I mean, she looked very more natural. She looked very much more comfortable. And look, I know that, Florida is not the class of the SEC, and LSU won by 50. But, they have some things that they need to figure out, kind of get going and get right for this stretch, because I think LSU is one of these teams that is scary. I mean, you don't want to play them. Their weakness would be their lack of depth. Their strength would be that they could go nuclear at any time. They have the number one offense in the country. The numbers say so, and they're still tinkering and finding, ways to get more out of scores. If they can find something with a point guard and Van Lith can play off the ball more consistently, that's a different aspect. It's a different part of the game. I mean, she looked really, really just confident. Just confident. Confident really would be the...
Well, that's the old Van Lith, right? That's what you used to see whenever she was at Louisville, and you saw her in the talking shit in the line, where it was, okay, you're getting this massive prolific kind of figure in women's basketball, and you get her through the transfer portal, and that's where the whole domino started to fall when everybody was looking. She's going to a national championship, they just won a national championship, and you add another piece like that's polarizing in a sense of Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, and Haley Van Lith is probably on that Mount Rushmore of personalities in the sport, and you add her with a Kim Mulkey, and it's you see the comparisons. But I think we kind of hit it on the head early on in the year where it felt like she was trying too hard to fit in and not be herself.
Yeah.
Right. And even Kim Mulkey went to the presser and was Haley, she was been reading too much. She's been online too much. Not everybody's going to like you. She wanted everybody to like her in the world, and it's not going to be the case. Play with that chip on your shoulder. Right. She's a bulldog.
Yeah, she is. I mean, like I said, in the beginning of the season, she's just, I've read the book, The Mamba Mentality. And just kind of how it operates. And she's worked out with him, with Kobe, and they had a relationship. Yeah. And I know that stuff of, wanting everybody to like you is very anti-Mamba mentality. But when she's on a basketball floor and competing, you can see she has that in her. And I was glad that Mulkey kind of called that out, that really kind of brought that to light, because, she's at her best when people hate her.
Played with a little FU too,
right? Yeah,
when she was talking in I think it was either the presser after the game, she said that the stat that showed that she felt more comfortable like herself wasn't the 21 points, it was the 7 rebounds, where she was being more aggressive. She had picked up the intensity. And then yesterday's performance was probably one of the better defensive performances they've had as a team. Uh-huh. And I think part of that comes from Poa, who's a great defender, but then allowing Van Lith to guard and be more, intense and aggressive. And it just turned into a more comfortable position on the other side of the floor.
Yeah, without question. And for as much as we're talking about Van Lith, we also need to really throw flowers at last year Poa. I mean, that was as good of a game as she's played. And really, when it comes down to it, she may be the X factor to this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she might really have more influence on what happens than any of these superstars, because if she can step in and play extended valuable minutes and put people in their natural position, then LSU can really be their best. They can be, like the best version of themselves. And if she can play like she did yesterday, I mean, the hook has been very sudden with her. I would have thought that she would have been allowed to kind of play through some things up to this point. Maybe they can find a place here over the second half of the season where she can stay out there and kind of figure it out. But to me, she is one of the, more important pieces of finding her place than just about anybody, because you can see if she can hold the rope, if she can go out there and really hold the standard. I mean, LSU is just, they're lethal offensively. They're and like Noah said, I mean, their defense is coming along, and Mulkey's never going to give up on that part of it. Like, they'll continue to improve on the defensive end, even through the tournament. I mean, they're going to be a well-coached defensive team, and you can see the improvement that they're making there. So, big day yesterday for the ladies as they get a 40-point win over Florida, which is that was the biggest win in a SEC game, for an SEC game, by LSU, as they win 106-66 over the Florida Gators. And they'll be back in action. Get you a schedule here coming up, but the week off obviously served them well.
Thursday against Vanderbilt.
Home or away?
At
Vandy. But there's a reason that I feel like you probably haven't seen this yet. Like, they were trying so hard for Haley Van Lith to be the point, right? And so I don't know if that's hey, last year Poa stepped up her game to a point where we're comfortable her playing the point, because you saw her play against South Carolina where she played like 30 seconds. And Mulkey ripped her out, where it was like, all right, we're not doing this.
Yeah.
And so it's a matter of her being able to, if she can play point and she can be comfortable doing it, you see what Van Lith can do off the ball. Like, that was, it's almost like you always had that in your back pocket. Like, you saw her at Louisville, that didn't just go away.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of, you're putting a lot on Poa to be able to run the point. But I think there's a world where you kind of do both, where you can, I mean, you're asking Van Lith to do a lot to kind of juggle both roles a little bit. But if Poa can just be, don't turn the ball over,
right,
like, be competent on the offensive end, then you can move Van Lith around. And LSU has scored, the biggest margin of victory in SEC, and then I think they scored the most points in the SEC this year too. So you can see the offense.
It's the quarterback discussion.
Right.
I mean, it's literally a game manager versus a playmaker, right? Some teams have playmakers at point guard. The majority of teams have game managers, where they've got players that they need to get the ball to, set them up in open spots, throw them into open positions, set screens, get people open, responsibilities that come far more than filling up the stat sheets with the points, right? Or whatever is the most, glaring highlighted stat that you may be thinking. And if Poa can if she can be consistent in 3 stat categories, and that would be assists, turnovers, keeping them very much down, and minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, minutes played. I would think that, LSU has a real chance to take that next step here in the second half of the season. Because, we could always point towards the Florida game last night to see really what the impact Van Lith can make of playing without the ball. And I would go, I was kind of going back and forth between a couple of tabs here. I believe Kimberly pointed out, because I thought the same thing in watching yesterday. I mean, Flaugier was not really herself yesterday, which
can happen.
Okay. That happens. You play 30 of these things, 1 or 2, your top players aren't going to be your top players. But I expect Flaugier to be there when the lights are brightest, right? And she's a whole new dynamic with Van Lith playing the 2, that relieves some pressure off of her defensively. Because I think she's one of your top defenders, and I think she's somebody that you can possibly trust with the ball in spurts. You don't have to give it to her consistently and bring it up. I know she struggles a little bit with turnover when she's kind of orchestrating it, but she's also a playmaker when she's got the ball in her hand. And she plays with so much confidence, and she also instills confidence in the people around her. So, yesterday is the exception to the rule of Flaugier. And if you can get Poa.
That's what I was just looking at the minutes. She played 3 minutes for Poa. She played 3 minutes against South Carolina, 12 minutes against Mississippi State, and now 27 against Florida. So this is clearly something that they worked on over the break. Yeah, but
21.
This was a totally different offensive philosophy and shift in what they're trying to do.
Absolutely.
So I think they took that, probably worked on this during the break, where you try to get to the halfway point of the year, where it's all right, let's assess and evaluate, and they clearly made a change that they think that is going to be beneficial for them in the future with Poa running the point.
Well, and also I think they recognize too, you took the number 1 team on in the country with 6 people, and you lost by 2 possessions.
And you were winning the whole game.
You need some more firepower. You need some more depth. You need some more artillery to be able to go toe-to-toe, wire-to-wire with the number 1 team. And, like we said the day after that game, there's by no means any moral victories for the reigning national champs. But it was a great barometer to know, hey, look, let's get ready for the next war. Let's know what we got to stockpile, know what you got to improve on, and you're not that far off, right? I mean, you're not as far away as you maybe thought you were going into the game of being able to take on this giant, right? And not that LSU looks at South Carolina as some, untamable beast anymore, but, South Carolina's a monster, right? And, it was a great barometer of being able to say, okay, all right, now we know where we are, and you probably have to get the ball out of Van Lith's hands for the majority of the game, and let her either play off the ball, take some pressure off of her defensively. But to do that, you're going to have to extend your trust on Poa. And you can't hook her. You can't pull her out the first time she throws it away. You're just going to have to kind of play and allow her to play through that and live with it for a minute. So that way when you get to late February and early March, that she's making the right play the most consistent amount of time. She played fantastic yesterday.
Yeah, and that's
she played fantastic.
Like you said, that's going to be the engine. But for Van Lith, just looking at the numbers, that was for the Mississippi State game, which I feel like is the catalyst of all of this change. You shouldn't have dropped that game. They did, but I feel like you're going to look back at that, and if LSU does what it feels like they're going to do, which is ultimately they want to make a Final Four run and repeat as national champions, I think the Mississippi State was a watershed moment. Van Lith played 31 minutes and had 4 points and was 1 of 6. Fast forward to Florida, 27 minutes, 6 of 11 shooting, and 21 points with 1 assist. Clearly it was not on her mind to be the distributor. It was go get it.
Absolutely. And I think that's what they told her.
Yeah.
Besides the fact of who cares what people are talking about and saying about you on social media, just go be yourself.
Right.
Right? Go play comfortable. And she looked as if she was playing without the weight of the world on her yesterday. And that's what LSU needs. That's why they brought her in, to be a superstar. Right? I think the Poole story affects them more than people may want to admit. I think the Kateri Poole, not having her, you really need her experience, her ability to handle the ball. We were talking about game managers. Yeah. She would be somebody that you can trust, that you're like, hey, look, senior, don't turn it over. Get the ball to the right people. Take the right shots. Just play smart, right? Go out there and make the right play. And without that, you have somebody who potentially you think can be that, but you got to go through the struggles to get her there. You're going to have to live with a couple of more turnovers than you like. But, with in mind, hey, we got to minimize the further